At the end of the day, it is a question of how we value a human life. Do we realize that how fragile it is, how precious it is?
Looking back, I mean, we had many obstacles that could have stopped the whole crash test program going ahead.
The impact that EuroNCAP had on the automotive industry is real. There is no point to deny that fact.
Safety is not a matter only for regulation any longer, but it's also a matter of people actually interested in buying safer cars.
In just the way that they changed the way in which cars are built, they will change the technology for the avoidance of accidents. And that, I think, is the future for NCAP.
In recent years, there has been a revolution in car design. Significant safety features are now incorporated as a matter of course into the manufacture of most new vehicles. The public has come to expect safety features and maximum protection for themselves and their families. An important influence on this new approach to road safety has been the EuroNCAP independent programme. But it wasn't always the case. In the past, cars were largely marketed and sold for other, more commercial reasons.
And it's important to remember at that time, the only information that the consumer had was that cars had passed basic requirements by law, but they didn't know if car A was any safer than car B. So it was quite radical, really, that the Department for Transport in the UK took a lead, linked up with the FIA, the RAC, the AA, the Swedish Road Administration and various consumer groups, and we all got together and we all decided that the public needed to know this information. But it really wasn't an easy ride, and looking back, I mean, we had many obstacles that could have stopped the whole crash test program going ahead. The manufacturers, there's no doubt about it, did not like it at all.
The main reason why there was an opposition at that time to the introduction of EuroNCAP. One of them perhaps was the fear towards a new system with a new criteria. And the second reason was perhaps the fear to have a combination of criteria, some of them being seen at that time as subjective rather than objective.
But despite some industry reservations, the first EuroNCAP tests went ahead and provided some surprising and dramatic results.
The first time I went to the Transport Research Laboratory, I remember walking into this kind of warehouse and looking at these smashed cars, and I was almost physically sick. And I remember looking at the Rover 100, which only achieved 1 star, and I remember thinking if anyone was in the front of that car, there's no way they would have got out. And that certainly brought it home to me, the importance of just getting that information out there, no matter what the industry said.
2 years after EuroNCAP introduction, the industry and EuroNCAP management decided to sit together and discuss the issues in a very open and transparent way. And that was the start of a discussion which led to a mutual understanding, and at the end to the success of EuroNCAP on one hand, but also on the other hand, the industry understanding the protocol in a better way.
Of course, we wanted then also to have the opportunity of encouraging manufacturers to do much better, so we wanted to have higher standards possible in terms of measurements, in terms of performance, and we wanted to have the prospects of car manufacturers sort of really excelling and bringing in new features, new facilities. So the development of those test procedures and the assessment protocols took quite a long time.
EuroNCAP started off with three major tests: frontal impact, side impact, and the pedestrian impact as well. And then it has developed gradually with a pole impact, which has been very important, and it's been demonstrated that this also makes a huge difference to vehicle safety. But also in terms of child occupant protection, we have now been able to put sort of stars on the protection for children as well.
One has to say that the response of the manufacturers to NCAP has been quite extraordinary in that they've reached levels of safety which 10 years ago everybody would have said were impossible.
I think we're all surprised how effective EuroNCAP has been and how quickly the market and the car industry has responded to that. Safety is not a matter only for regulation any longer, but it's also a matter of people actually interested in buying safer cars. And I think personally that it's been dramatic, the change out there.
The consequence at the personal level, of course, is that we have a lot of people who are currently alive and uninjured, who would have died or been seriously injured, disabled.
For the consumer to get a publication like What Car, to flick through the back and see what stars the car's been given for occupant safety and indeed for pedestrian safety, they can then make a choice, make a judgment.
Increasingly, customers who are buying a new car expect to be able to interrogate what safety performance that vehicle is offering them and make a buying decision accordingly. The good thing about EuroNCAP is it gives them an independent rating whereby they can check not just the manufacturer's claims, but an independent assessment of the vehicle they're considering buying.
Simply, EuroNCAP has been totally independent from political pressure, and it has to remain independent from either from politicians or from manufacturers to that end. So only independence gives it a credibility.
The recent expansion of the European Union has significant implications for road safety initiatives within the region and provides new challenges and opportunities for the EuroNCAP program.
I mean, there's something like 8 times more deaths, relatively speaking, on some of the new member states. So of course we must focus our effort in those countries.
The expansion with the new 10 member countries and so on, of course, puts a high pressure on that we translate the kind of technologies that has been developed for countries maybe with a little better economy, but where it is very important that those kinds of new technologies very quickly gets into the new countries.
Despite the undoubted successes of the last 10 years, those involved with EuroNCAP know how important it is to keep the momentum going, especially in key areas such as increasing safeguards for children and pedestrians.
The thing that they've been slower about is responding to pedestrian protection. So what we need to do is to get more emphasis on pedestrian protection. It's coming, but it's a bit late. And what we can see is a big dichotomy. As soon as the car manufacturers start to do pedestrian protection, they get good results. But many of them haven't even started, so we get very bad results in those instances. So this is something that must develop in the future.
The thing that is most satisfying about NCAP for everybody who's been involved is the knowledge that by moving the level of the cars from about 1.5, 2 stars, which would be the legislative level, up to 4 to 5 stars, there are thousands of people whose numbers are growing every day who are walking around fit and healthy, who would otherwise be dead or seriously injured. And you know that that's come as a direct result of the endless work that's gone into NCAP over the last 10 years.
It's no exaggeration. NCAP is a matter of life and death, and we must find new ways of invigorating it and keeping it going. It's been very successful for 10 years, but I think the next 10 years give us as much a challenge again.